Well, to contrast how easy it is to find our range, which is our total spread of our data set, our standard deviation is a significantly longer process that we're going to go through. So the standard deviation measures how much the data differ from the mean. So the important thing to notice here is that standard deviation goes specifically with one of our measures of center from the previous section, which was our mean. The larger the variability about the mean, the larger the standard deviation. So like we saw with mean, we can have different notation based on whether we're talking about a sample or a population. So S means we're talking about the standard deviation of a sample. The Greek letter sigma represents the population standard deviation. For the most part in this book, the notation being used is that of S, so we're assuming that it is coming from a sample. So standard deviation, just to kind of give an idea of what we mean by this visually, we're going to compare our standard deviation from these two sets. So consider the data sets 5, 8, 9, 10, 12, and 13, and then consider the data set 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, and 11. Both sets, if we were to calculate their mean, has a mean of 9.5. But we want to know based on this, well, which one has the larger standard deviation? Right, so next to these data sets, I've also included a little number line here. And on the number line, we see x's for each of our different data values. Right? Standard deviation has to do with spread. So if we look at these data values, we have x's spread out over our entire number line, where here we only have x's kind of centered close to the mean. Right? So what that means is this is going to have a larger standard deviation. And even if we don't necessarily write out the number line, we can see that these numbers, our original data set, is a lot more spread out than that data set was. So we're going to say data set A will have the larger standard deviation. Because more data points are further from the mean. So that means that data set A, right, is more spread out and also has more variability than data set B does. So standard deviation, we use different notation to show whether we're talking about a sample or a mean. Again, and it all has to do with how spread out we are in relation to the mean of our data set. So that's what we're looking at when we're finding standard deviation.